All right, so we left off with taking a review of the project structure after we created the React application. At this point, we should be able to use our handy command npm run start and get the application to start. Everything's good so far. So now we can start to make changes. This happens all the time, and make sure to get into the right directory, which should be my app, and then run it. If you push up on the keyboard, it'll just show you the previously used command in the terminal. So now it should just work. I'm just gonna make sure that it still does work, just in case you are following along line by line. And now one of the wonderful things that Facebook has done for us is that we can actually edit the application on the fly. So I'm going to change this to Jose, and then I'm going to save it. And if we jump over, right now it says edit, and it gets updated automatically to Jose. There is two versions of this that you can get up and running with React. There's hot reload and hot module replacement. I'm not gonna go into those right now, but suffice it to know that you can make changes and quickly see them appearing in the screen. For this video, the main thing that we want to do is switch it up to TypeScript. There is many reasons you can find online for using TypeScript. In my experience, none of those reasons matters if it's a small project. If it's going to be a big project, like you have multiple developers, and by that I mean more than one, or it's just many lines of code, or it's generated code, absolutely go with TypeScript. It makes something as trivial as a variable rename very easy. A variable rename on a pure JavaScript project has the scope to become a daunting task. In TypeScript, it's just going into the IDE, clicking refactor, rename, and then if you have been not taking any shortcuts with the types, which some people do, which kind of ruins the purpose of TypeScript. But if you do it correctly, then it should catch it. You can fix it immediately. You can run and build it, no problem. So that's the main reason that I am going to suggest that you always go with TypeScript on a project that is larger than you. Even if it's just you, if you have like more than 5 files or something like that, go with TypeScript. You will regret it in the end. Trust me, I despised TypeScript when it first came around. I remember, I think classes, the concept of a class was getting introduced into JavaScript, and I had very strong opinions against the way things were being done. At the end of the day, as usual, I learned something. And in this case, I'm hoping that you learn it without spending the time and suffering the pain. So just stick with TypeScript, especially if you want to get a job. They're going to expect that you know about the types and the utilities and all those things. So where do we go from here? We have a working React template application. What we want to do is convert all of this stuff into TypeScript. Right now we only have a component, which is just a main application, and this application will get converted into TypeScript. It should be pretty straightforward. Now the first thing we need to do is install a bunch of types as per the documentation for React TypeScript, and I'm gonna show you here. Oh, the clipboard. Oh. Okay. So those are the libraries we'll need for TypeScript to recognize the types, you will see that unlike other libraries we've used, this one has an @ symbol at the beginning, and that's a convention to let you know that it's just a library with types. It's not the actual library. For example, in Node, you'll find things like assert and process, which are just not available out of the box. And now that we have those, we want to go ahead and get the actual file created. For TypeScript, we have to have a configuration to tell the TypeScript compiler how to run. Where are these files that you want to convert into TypeScript, and where do I put them once I'm done converting them? And all of those things live in a file called the tsconfig.json. I'm going to again rely on npx, and I'm going to do tsc, which is the command that you use to run TypeScript. I'm going to init a file in this base directory. So now let's take a quick look at the tsconfig.json. We've got a bunch of rules that you can work with on the compiler options. You can go more strict, you can go less strict. For now, we're just gonna get it working. And if we have done things right, at this moment, nothing has changed. If I run the application, it should just start, just like it did before. So we're all good if that happens. Let's check. Remember, evidence. I cannot stress this enough. Evidence, even for your own wacky ideas, find evidence. Especially for your own wacky ideas, find evidence. So if this runs, we're good, and then we'll continue on to TypeScripting, the first component, the app component. Okay, so we are good. Now let's jump onto the meat of it. This is what it looks like in the JavaScript version. And this is what it looks like as a TypeScript file. I have only changed the extension, and I want to walk you through a few of the hurdles to get the create React app template from JavaScript entirely to TypeScript. So the first hurdle we're going to have is that this logo is not going to be loadable, because we are doing a lot of things by relying on Webpack. And I'm not gonna go into, as you can see, there's a ton of things that we can go into for hours and hours, such as the tsconfig file, the many ways you can go strict or not. And Webpack is one of those things that is used by the create app React scripts, and I'm not going to go into those, but suffice it to say that I know that they're using Webpack, and SVGs are non-code assets. So we need to tell Webpack how to figure out the types. So we defer to these custom modules. I've already written this over here. I wanted to add it while you are watching, just so you can understand how this thing will work. Now there's a bunch of errors that we're gonna go fix one by one. First, let's do this one. So we're gonna need to create our custom TS file. I think that is the name we need to use to create our type, just like any other normal TypeScript type. I could again go into a lot of details into each of the things that we're gonna be doing here, but I'm not gonna do that because this is not about getting depth first. This is about getting breadth first and getting up and running. And once you have the ability to get something up and running without knowing every little detail of how it works, then you can eventually take your time and go into each of the aspects and learn a little bit more and dig deeper into each of those. Imagine it's like a beach, and it's got a bunch of caverns that you can go into. You want to take your time exploring them. It's kind of like using a car. You can learn to use a car without knowing how the internal combustion engine works. You can learn how it works. It's not going to affect your way to like how you drive, maybe. I guess I wouldn't know because I don't know how it works. But the point being is that you don't have to know everything to get it to work. But once you can get it to work, you can start fiddling with the engine and the wheels and see how it affects it. And I always say that the best way to learn how to use something is to play with it. So in this video series, I'm going to show you how to get it up and running and do a bunch of things so that your room to play is bigger. And then you can spend all that playtime on your own and figure out whatever it is that you need to figure out. So let's go back to the task at hand. The second issue that we have is that we have not updated the tsconfig JSON to let it know that we are using JSX. So I'm going to do a shortcut here, Control-KU, which will uncomment that line, and then I will save. I'm going to jump back into my TypeScript file, and that should take care of this error. Not the fastest computer, but it did take care of the error. So now, if I run the application again, the same command, we should be able to see it build and run as it did before, but now we're using TypeScript. Fingers crossed. There it is. All right, there's a couple of things I want to also tackle before we finish this video, and that's the index and the web vitals. The web vitals is basically used to measure things like how long it takes a user to first interact with your application, how long did it take the serving of the application to receive the first byte, and all sorts of goodies that you care about once you have your application out in the world and you're trying to get feedback as to how are users using it and what is the problem. We don't care about any of that right now, but I am going to leave this in here just in case you want to use it. And because of that, I am going to convert it into TypeScript. And then it's the index.js, which is the starting point for our application. This is the first file that will get loaded by the JavaScript React stuff. And it's basically saying, here React, find this element, which I'm going to call rude. And now that I have given it to you, inside it, create a React world. And if you go to the HTML page, you will see there is a root ID for the div where we are going to render our application. It's possible to render it in a small portion of the page. There is this concept of having multiple types of single page applications running in a web page. Another thing that I'm not going to go into right now, but there is good reasons to do that, especially when you have a really large team and you want to have independent technology agnostic web development. But at the moment, we're just going to focus on muting these people that are texting me. and continuing with our journey of converting this to TypeScript. So let's go and tackle the report web vitals first. Pretty simple. First, we change it to a TS file. Remember, we use TSX for the app file because it contains JSX, basically, the custom-made stuff for React. In this file, we have just a TypeScript component. It's going to complain that the implicit type is any. I'm going to not make it implicit. I'm going to make it explicit. And this is the sort of thing that I was talking about earlier when people make shortcuts on TypeScript and ruin everything for everybody. This is exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm not really going to use report web vitals, and we are not going to use it in the demo, so we don't really need it. That is why I don't care about it. But this is the sort of thing that you want to avoid. Unless you have to. Sometimes you have to, like right now. But avoid using any. Find the type, even if you have to spend 60 seconds Googling it. Find the type, use the right type, and don't be a dick to your coworkers. So now the next thing we need to do is we need to export this as a TypeScript module. And this is another one of those branches that we can go very deep into, but I am not going to. I'm hoping you just pick it up as we go. And maybe at some point down the road, I will do that. But for now, just know that if you have code in one file and you want it to be used in a different file, you need to export it. Otherwise, it will not be available. Oh, it's actually exporting as default over here. So maybe I don't need to do this. It's already done for me. So when we go back into index.js, which is consuming report web vitals, looks like, yeah, it's good. So, oh no, it's not, because it's not TypeScript, so it's not checking. Let's go ahead and make that update. Let's go ahead and make that update. TSX. Who is this person that is texting me so much? My phone's dead. Wow. Okay. So now, yep. Okay. Because because it's exported as a default, this is not the way to do it. It's looking for, again, this is part of the how TypeScript works. I'm not gonna go into that now. So I'm just gonna go ahead and export this function. Now it'll find it, and this should go away. And then we can tackle the next problem, which is letting React know. Wait, that's how you find it. Letting React know that we are giving it a valid element. Wait, why is it still complaining? Oh, okay, good. This is what we want. This is why we have TypeScript, because I just made a silly ass mistake, and in JavaScript I would have never caught it. I mean, maybe I would have after a bug is reported, but basically this right now, it says the parameter on perform entry is a required parameter, and it is of type any. But it's obviously not being used as the code was written, so this is not a required parameter. This is an optional parameter. So we're going to go ahead and let TypeScript know that it's optional by adding a question mark in front of it. So if we jump back over here, we should be able to see it's gone. Now the next thing we need to do is fix this issue, which is a reasonable complaint. The element may be null. It could be possible that somehow it is removed from the HTML, and we don't want to hold it against TypeScript. This is why we have it. We want it to be thorough. So all that we are going to do is put the element in a variable and let it know that it could be null. It's part of the types that we want it to be. That way it will not complain. However, this is the kind of issue that is impossible to miss, because if the root node is removed in the index HTML and you go visit the page, there will be nothing. It just won't work at all. So now we should be at a point where our application is fully TypeScript and should have no errors. So let me just go ahead and rerun this. Bam! We're done. Okay, so now I am going to go ahead and add a little bit of syntactical sugar here to show you one of the biggest things about TypeScript, and that is, for example, if we wanted to output a variable, I'm going to call it val. We enclose it in brackets, and then when we declare it over here, it's going to be Jose, just like it was before. Going to update it. It should do it automatically. We jump back onto our application, and it's right there. So the application is right there, so we know it's working. The Jose is being used as I changed it. And it's going to implicitly tell you that it's a string because we're setting it right there. But what if we did this? What if we told TypeScript, hey, this is supposed to be a number? Then it's immediately going to catch it, going to flag it. It's not going to build. If I save, even in the browser, it'll tell me the error and what file to go to, what line to go to, what column to go to precisely, which is incredible. This is why we use TypeScript. There are many moments like this where you will be very happy you made this choice, and right now where we have basically just one file, it's no big deal if we had JavaScript. But this is going to grow from a starting template into a full-fledged timer. So we want to make sure that we are as safe as possible. And this is a great step in that direction. If you want to continue to build this with me, just wait until I post more videos, subscribe so you don't miss them. And if you just found this because of the title or something and you want to go from the beginning, go to my site, go to my YouTube page and just catch up. I think you still have time. It'll take a while to get to a fully working timer, but that's it. I hope you guys find this useful, and I will see you guys later.